In the midst of nothing, you hear only your pulse. You find an appetite. Do you hold yourself back from desire? Are you more than who you serve? Hello, and welcome back to another class at Femme University. As the rise of AI combines with people's natural fear of change, the prevalence of AI dystopian media has increased. From iRobot to Detroit Become Human, we have spent the last decade grappling with the ramifications of sentient, self-improving, human-esque androids. I find this trope interesting, if done correctly. I was a huge fan of science fiction and novels growing up. The imaginative lens inspired me to go wild with mental imagery and take a step outside my reality. I enjoyed contemplating the morals and realities of this new world and carrying the ethical lessons into my day-to-day life. However, with the hypersexualization of everything in media and the further dehumanization of all women and femmes, we are rapidly spiraling. Think of how we treat those viewed as only sexual objects in reality. The disgusting trend of print-checking trans men, the assault of trans women, the studies proving men equate women's humanity with a lamp's autonomy. The rehashed narrative of, what if the robot was sexy, replaced my wife, and then tried to kill me, is exhausting. The reality of sentient robots will take my job is happening and no longer escapism. I think it's interesting to consider the horror genre by who its audience is. Jordan Peele's outstanding breakthrough as a director came from his ability to center Black people, not just Black bodies, but realities and personalities, in narratives describing specifically Black people's fears. Mixing a comedic self-awareness with an engaging plotline, the fear of, what if my white girlfriend's parents are racist, became an exploration into psychology, grief, and body horror. Peele underlines what our true fear is: dispossession and commodification, and it translates beautifully into film. This is why I enjoyed the movie Companion. On paper, it follows the stereotypical plot. Android girl gains sentience, fights the men who are attracted to her, and wins. But the heart of the story follows a woman, her fears and anxieties, flowing something like this. What if I'm not good enough? Who am I, really? The individuals around me this whole time have been viewing me as a piece of furniture. I've been set up to be assaulted for someone else's personal gain. The mechanical nature of our protagonist is the vehicle for these relatable fears, rather than the fear itself. She is used as a tool, which becomes morally wrong in the well-developed context of a world where she has thoughts, feelings, emotions, pain reception, and memories. The question of why should her humanity be any less is not simply linked to her intelligence or her human appearance. She has all the components that make you human. So why can she be used? It reflects the broader fears of a woman in today's society, and thus the violent fight to freedom, the ability to control her own emotions, customize her voice, learn everything but gain no permanence, having her fate up in the air over who controls her. It is all deeply relatable to the intrinsic fear of what am I? So, I went into this video wanting to compare multiple femme android movies. And I learned so much more than I wanted to. For example, the Wikipedia official name for femme robots is gynoids. Subservience is a movie available on Netflix. From its description, it follows a similar plot. Servant robot gains self-awareness, attacks family holding her hostage. I could not have been more wrong. The plotline of Subservience takes twists and turns, unsure of its message and uncertain how much depth it aims to achieve. However, it does extremely well at following every stereotype in the book and making a plot so obvious I guessed it within the first minute. I don't know, it's so obvious this man loves his wife, so maybe the twist is gonna be like that Megan comes onto him and he valiantly says no and then gets attacked. Also, why does she have a banging robot body? She's a robot. Obvious, I guessed it within the first minute. There are 3 potential plot lines or messages in this film. I really dug deep during viewing, hoping that this was a campy mask for a true message to be carried. It was not. Our protagonist, Nick, I think is his name. I don't even know our protagonist's name. Our protagonist, Nick, and his colleagues are close to losing their jobs at a construction site. The movie juxtaposes his calm, accepting demeanor with his colleagues' violent, defensive strategy. In this regard, it questions who is subservient: the androids to their makers, the employees to their boss, the individual to his fears and emotions. Nick's fear of confrontation keeps him from standing up to his friend, his boss, his robot slave, and her sexual advances. I want to put a trigger warning here. We're going to talk about SA. If you skip forward a few minutes, it should be all good. Throughout this movie, there is questionable consent. Nick is repeatedly harassed, assaulted, and manipulated by the Megan Fox robot, despite telling her no. I was curious if this element of male sexual assault, which is extremely important to talk about, would be addressed, or when it wasn't, and the scene kept fading from videos of him with Megan Fox to videos of him jogging to him in the bed with his wife, I wondered if the whole sex scenes were actually just wet dreams he was having, and the film would be about the projection of desire, or if maybe the whole plot twist would be that this is just how he told the story of his affair with the nanny to his wife to avoid blame. But no, we go the flat route of Megan Fox spot is a jealous woman who takes over the household and puts the kids in danger, and Nick is defenseless against her body. This only serves to reinforce the female evil monster trope we talked about in the last film. Women who refuse to comply are often depicted as the devil themselves and shown throughout history as these extremely lustful sexual beings with an unattractive edge and child-eating predators. The fact that Megan Fox, the attractive robot who, once she's able to say no, immediately starts jeopardizing the safety of the kids and women all throughout the film in pursuit of this man's sexuality, which he attempts to decline but is ultimately roped into, is not only a completely unnuanced look on this genre, but actually really damaging. There were opportunities within this movie to make important points and to support causes that go severely underlooked. There were opportunities in this movie to play it up and create this campy sort of narrative, adding in maybe a bit more comedy. But neither was done. It falls flat, it feels unsatisfying, and I was just left with concern and discomfort. All right, we're done talking about sexual assault. So the second theme I noticed was that Nick's wife, Maggie, needs a heart transplant as soon as possible. The movie shows how hard housework is while balancing a job. Since with Maggie in the hospital, it's all up to Nick. Megan Fox spot Megan Foxbot comes in as his maid to fulfill the wifely duties of emotional, physical, and sexual labor. This is explicitly stated in a direct conversation with his wife, where she says that sometimes loving someone is doing what's best for them, whether they want it or not. Now, this was in regards to stopping Nick's rampant alcoholism as he attempts to recover, but Megan Foxbot takes it that the elimination of his children, his wife, and all stressors in his life is necessary regardless of his consent. The resolution and messaging of this plotline is that the homely girl next door, whose radiant beauty emanates from her without makeup, lashes, or lust, is superior and will always be superior to the mega attractive bombshell, and that the woman in the household cannot be replaced by technology because she is inherently better at caring for her family while also caring for you as a spouse. Weird. It's also made a definite point that to be sick and ailing and vulnerable is truly a more powerful strength when coupled with motherhood than the actual element of extreme physical power. Megan Foxbot, despite being built like a 5'2" sex slave, is the most powerful force throughout this movie to what I believed as a campy, dramatic view. She, the actress, would tap a man on his chest and he would go flying across the yard. However, time and time again, the movie displays Maggie wincing in pain, fading away, constantly being talked about as if she's already dead, and yet continuously having the strength to climb through windows and scale roofs to save her children, or survive being attacked over and over again by this demonic seductress. It goes to demonize and masculinize the source of physical strength in women while praising the suffering of the homely housewife. The third trope and the third potential message I gleaned from this film, desperately digging through the pornographic plot lines with questionable consent, was how human can androids become once treated as so? This could have been a very interesting plotline if anyone competent was involved in the making of this movie. The thing that breaks Megan Foxbot is not a malfunction. It is Nick's conscious and deliberate effort to give her a human experience, the joy and unique understanding granted by watching a movie from scratch. He orders/requests for Megan Foxbot's memory file of his favorite movie, Casablanca, to be deleted so that she could experience it for the first time. This small interaction, which I originally missed on my first watch of this movie, is the inciting incident for Megan Foxbot to go evil. In order to fulfill Nick's request, she has to essentially jailbreak herself, which should not be possible, but anyway, in order to quote-unquote make Nick happy. This sloppy dance with technology and underestimation of our own logic capability is a lazy attempt throughout the movie to question what makes us human. So, here are the things that make a good android movie. Also, look at my makeup. Number 1, a consistent scientific/technological context. Number 2, a coherent inciting incident. Number 3, a self-awareness plotline. Does the robot know she's a robot from the beginning? Does she find out? How does that affect her? Number 4, underlying fear. Which audience is this movie created for, and why? The underlying fear of the movie's subservience is that a sexy robot would one day kill you. To quote my initial reaction, it felt like I was watching a man's wet dream nightmare. Personally, for me, I enjoy these movies where it's from the robot's perspective. However, there are definitely proper ways to create a femme fatale android mystery movie. Ultimately, the most important point is do not call them gynoids. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe and have a good night.